Quenther is a useless mechanic who used to be weaker than a snowflake until he discovers his engineering knowledge can destroy supposedly invincible objects. This turns him into the most overpowered foot soldier in the world, taking down billion-dollar war machines with C4 explosives and big brain energy while clapping hot girls' cheeks. But before any of this, at a military base in Alaska, two boys named Quenther and Havia are clearing snow from a runway using their hands. Havia complains about having to do this kind of work, saying it's not fair since he's supposed to be a radar analyst. Quenther doesn't mind as much, since he's already used to how things are now. He knows that only objects and their elite pilots are the ones who go into real battles, so everyone else just gets stuck with jobs like this. As they take a break, the two of them talk about their lives as Quenther comes from a regular family, while Havia is from a rich and noble one. They joke around about their different backgrounds, but the plain and boring taste of their military food makes Havia even more upset. He gets so tired of the meals that he suddenly decides he wants to go hunt for deer in the nearby forest, hoping to eat something better for once. While Havia tries to hunt deer, Quenther decides to fish by a nearby river instead. As he thinks about how useless foot soldiers are in battles between objects, he spots Melinda, the elite pilot, walking around the base since her object, Baby Magnum, is under maintenance. Quenther gets nervous when Melinda says the sound of Havia's gunshots can be heard from the base. Things turn serious when she asks why he's working on an old object like hers. Quenther explains that learning from an older object gives him useful knowledge, something a student would value more than a soldier. Even so, Melinda still wonders if he's truly ready for what lies ahead. Because of Havia's bold idea to go deer hunting, he and Quenther are called in by their commander, Felicia Capistrano. There, they listen to the 18-year-old go on with her usual complaints. Luckily for them, Felicia also wants to eat something other than the usual tasteless rations she calls giant erasers. She decides to save the deer Havia hunted for a barbecue. Still, Havia is ordered to keep shoveling snow off the runway, while Quenther is sent back to his job as a maintenance worker. Quenther quickly goes to the hangar where the Baby Magnum is being worked on and joins his superior, Iami Cherry Blossom. She gives him the task of checking the emergency escape equipment used by Melinda. While working on it, Quenther makes a mistake that causes the safety belts around Melinda to tighten too much. As he panics and wonders if he needs to touch her chest to loosen the belts, Melinda manages to get free on her own before anything serious happens. That afternoon, after getting slapped by Iami for the mess he caused in the hangar, Quenther looks for comfort in the grilled deer meat that was saved for him, Havia, and Felicia. While they eat, Felicia brings up Quenther's short talk with Melinda and starts explaining what it really means to lose in a clean war where only objects fight. But as Quenther listens, he can't help but question what place foot soldiers have in battles like that. He doesn't have to wait long for the answer. He sees it clearly when an enemy object shows up and completely destroys the Baby Magnum right before his eyes. After that, the base comes under attack and the Baby Magnum gets ready to launch. Quenther watches closely and thinks about how the enemy object was created by a world power called the Faith Organization. Because of its strange and unique shape, people started calling it the Water Strider. As the battle begins, Melinda locks onto it and fires her rockets, but the Water Strider quickly dodges the attack and fires back at her. After that, the Water Strider uses its powerful long-range weapons and thick armor, making it hard to damage. In fights between objects, the one that gets the better shooting position usually ends up winning. In the end, Melinda's Baby Magnum is defeated by the stronger and more advanced Water Strider. After the battle, Havia notices something strange. The Water Strider is aiming right at them. He's confused, since they have already raised the white flag. He quickly tells everyone to show the white flag again, but the Water Strider still doesn't stop. Moments later, the whole base is destroyed in a massive blast. Quenther tells Havia that the enemy object is just like the princess's Baby Magnum and uses an electrostatic drive, which is why it moves in such a weird and creepy way. After that, the Water Strider starts charging its beam again, and both Quenther and Havia try to escape, but they keep getting shot at. While running, Quenther realizes that the enemy isn't just shooting randomly, it's targeting the maintenance facilities. He quickly shouts to everyone, telling them to stay away from anything related to objects if they want to survive. When Quenther and Havia get trapped, the Water Strider suddenly pulls back. Just then, Felicia shows up and tells them to run while they still can, but Quenther refuses to leave Melinda behind. This makes Felicia angry, and she yells that Melinda is staying behind on purpose to keep the enemy focused on her, so the others can escape without getting wiped out. Havia also agrees with Fralacia, but Quenther gets mad at him too and asks him to hand over the rifle. Then he goes to save Melinda by himself. Quenther heads out alone into the freezing cold, and soon comes across some enemy soldiers. That's when he realizes Melinda has been captured. At first, he finds it hard to pull the trigger on a real person, but when he sees the soldiers laughing while Melinda is tied up beside them, he forces himself to shoot. After taking out a few of them, one soldier fires a bomb at him, but Havia shows up just in time and saves Quenther. When Quenther wakes up later, he finds out that Melinda has been rescued. Now, with all three of them being chased by the water strider, Quenther makes up his mind to figure out a way to destroy the enemy object. Now reunited with Melinda, Quenther and Havia watch the water strider from a distance. Quenther explains that water strider is just a codename given by their army because of the object's long legs. Melinda adds that the water strider uses its legs to push off the ground directly for movement. Hearing this, Havia suggests they make a giant pitfall to trap it and bring it down. But Quenther quickly points out that the plan won't work, since the object can still move using just 4 of its legs. After spending hours coming up with ideas, Quenther finally says they might not be able to destroy the object itself, but since its base is run by regular soldiers, they can focus on blowing up the enemy's facility instead. Later, the group tries to sneak into the enemy base and soon realizes that the enemy has gotten rid of extra soldiers and old weapons just to put all their money and focus into building powerful objects. After seeing this, they came up with a plan to disable the water strider so that Fralacia's forces can launch a counterattack. While Melinda scouts around the outside of the base, Quenther and Havia head inside and eventually discover the turbines that create the electrostatic charge used to power the object's legs. Havia wonders if destroying the turbines could stop the water strider, but they soon realize there are way too many to take out. Just then, Melinda sees the object entering the base and quickly runs in to save them. Meanwhile, Quenther and Havia struggle with the maze of water tubes and the fact that they don't have any weapons. Things get worse when Havia spots the water strider heading their way and urges Quenther to hurry. But Quenther is focused on getting revenge and refuses to back down. They have decided to spread the C4 explosives around the area, hoping to damage the object's systems. Right after that, they see Melinda getting captured again, and now it's up to Quenther to face the impossible and make sure their plan succeeds. Quenther manages to sabotage the water strider's self-destruct system, causing it to explode from the inside. With the enemy object gone, the 37th unit takes this chance to launch a full attack on the Faith Organization's base using just their infantry, old tanks, and outdated fighter jets. Even though they lost their object first, they still managed to win the battle. Later, Melinda is given an upgraded version of the Baby Magnum to replace the original one that was destroyed during the fight with the water strider. Quenther and Havia become the first regular soldiers to ever destroy an object without using one of their own, turning them into national heroes. They receive medals, awards, and tons of praise for their actions. But even with all the attention and success, they aren't allowed to leave the army. Instead, they are sent right back into action with the 37th Mobile Maintenance Battalion, ready to face the next battle. After that, Melinda goes to get her usual checkup to keep her body in good condition. Later, because their last mission with the first object goes really well, Quenther and Havia are now flying in a military plane. While they're in the air, Fralacia starts to explain their next job. She says the new target is another object, and it likely belongs to the Intelligence Confederation. She also says this one is a super heavy class object, and it has 3 power reactors, which makes it very strong. Fralacia explains that this object can drill for oil, and it's been digging around the western coast of Africa. After getting the oil, it sends it into the Mediterranean Sea, where it ends up in the hands of terrorist groups. Even though the mission sounds serious, Havia can't stop staring at Fralacia's body while she sits on her fancy sofa. But Fralacia notices and tells them to pay attention to the mission, since this order comes straight from the higher-ups. Later, they land in the middle of the Strait of Gibraltar. Quenther and Havia quickly gather all the explosives and weapons they can find. At the top of the strait, Havia tells Quenther there are about 30 base zones nearby, and even if a few are lost, the mission can still continue. Suddenly, one of the bases explodes, and Quenther quickly tells Havia that the object must have attacked it. Right after, the object rises from the water and begins firing at the bases one after another. Eventually, it runs into the goal trap, but the trap doesn't stop it at all. it keeps moving forward like nothing happened. Havia starts to wonder why Melinda isn't fighting back, but Fralacia explains that Melinda isn't with them. She's still at the base on land. That means only Quenther and Havia are here and able to fight without using an object. After the enemy object attacks, they manage to sneak on board and place bombs on it, but even with that, they can't destroy it. Just in time, Melinda shows up to support them, and with her help, they finally manage to destroy the object using the bombs they had set earlier. However, the object doesn't sink and keeps moving toward them, refusing to stop. Just then, Fralacia arrives in a lifeboat, looking confident and relaxed, almost like a snack, and comes to life. She tells them that their mission is finished for now, but they're confused and ask what she means. Fralacia explains that their real objective was just to buy as much time as they could until Melinda arrived. Later, back on the airship, Fralacia assures them that things will be easier from here on out. But Quenther feels uneasy about Melinda. He senses something is off. Fralacia also notices that Melinda's attack rhythm against the object has slowed down, and that's when they both realize something might be seriously wrong. After that, the enemy object fires at Melinda, and although the shot nearly misses the main body of her baby Magnum, it ends up scratching one of her weapons. They quickly realize the enemy is now aiming directly at her weapons on purpose. This change in strategy is meant to slowly weaken Melinda by disabling her firepower bit by bit. Quenther figures out that if all of her guns are destroyed, she won't just lose, she'll likely be captured and tortured to death. Realizing the danger, he decides he has to do something to help her, no matter the risk. He and Havia argue for a bit about what to do next, but in the end, Quenther makes up his mind and jumps out of the airship on his own. Quenther notices something strange. Although the enemy object is designed for naval warfare, its tricore has only been rotating in a clockwise direction from the very beginning. Realizing this might be a flaw, he decides to use the same tactic as before by planting bombs on the object. With a plan in mind and knowing its weak point now, he dives underwater to get close. Havia helps by tossing him his moving gear, and with that, Quenther quickly makes his way toward the enemy object. Quenther realizes that its part of functionality has been impaired due to it being tangled up in the net of the gold tape, and that's the reason. It can't go counterclockwise. After that, Quenther begins placing C4 explosives all over the surface of the enemy object. Meanwhile, Melinda's baby Magnum is down to just one remaining gun, barely able to fight back. At the same time, Quenther loses control underwater and starts drifting away, but he still manages to trigger the explosives in time. The blast also sets off the large underwater mines that were caught around the object, causing an even bigger explosion. However, Tricore's weapon locks onto Quenther as its next target. Melinda tries to protect him by launching an attack, while Havia yells in frustration, saying Quenther's plan was useless because the bombs didn't break through the object's armor like they had hoped. But then, it turns out the object's rudders have been damaged, and because of that, it starts falling apart from the inside due to the intense stress caused by its own high-speed movements. With that, the enemy object is finally defeated. After the battle is over, both Quenther and Melinda return safely to the airship. The next day, Havia and Quenther are sent to a joint operation in Oceania with another object from the Information Alliance. Quenther believes that they are a multinational force composed of the four great powers, but he wonders why the Oceanian military state decided to fight. However, Havia is busy watching some older girl with big chesticles. He tells him that she is an idol who is also an intelligence officer, and she is here with them. Meanwhile, Melinda asks Fralacia if the forests could have been something good, but Fralacia replies that the forests in Oceania were only kept green to eventually turn them into farmland, and the money earned from that farming would have been used to expand the cities even more. Elsewhere, Quenther and Havia run into a young girl who asks them about the object. Instead of telling her the truth, that it's a deadly weapon used for war, Quenther makes up a harmless story. Just then, Fralacia shows up and scolds them for standing around and wasting time, reminding them that the cameras are always watching everything they do. At the same time, Melinda is off by herself, playing her special flute, which isn't just a regular instrument, but can actually perform various functions. Just then, Quenther and Havia arrive and are surprised to see Melinda wearing a new tuning suit. She explains to them that it's a new model, designed to allow her to make physical adjustments to her body while in the suit. Quenther then notices Melinda's new flute, and when he tries playing it, her entire body starts to vibrate and gets full of ocean for him. Later that night, Quenther and Havia drive around the enemy object's area, keeping a close watch. During their patrol, Quenther tells Havia that he suspects the enemy is secretly hiding a 0.5th generation object somewhere. Just then, the same chick Havia had been watching on his phone earlier suddenly speaks through her object's communication system, addressing them directly. Meanwhile, Melinda quickly starts feeling jealous as she notices how fascinated Quenther is by the rival object and its female pilot. After that, the new minister, Fried, contacts Fralacia and orders her to launch an immediate attack. Following the command, Melinda and the others head straight to the enemy's hiding place and begin firing, destroying the entire area with their powerful guns. After the assault, the attractive member of the intelligence unit tells Quenther and Havia to go check if there are any civilian communities along the route. Curious, they ask why she and the others can't do it themselves. She explains that after firing the object's heavy ammunition, their bodies heat up from the intense energy, so they need to change clothes to cool down. This makes the two wonders if Melinda also must do the same thing after every battle. Afterward, Quenther attacks the Oceanian soldiers with grenades, and Havia, on the other hand, starts shooting soldiers using sniper. However, all the soldiers start retreating, but they again start shooting, and just done someone else starts shooting at them. Havia realizes that his shooting is cutting off their escape route, so the enemies got no choice but to fight back with all they got. Meanwhile, Melinda sends a message to Quenther, who is hiding from all the shots he is getting. However, Havia wonders if they can rig explosives in advance to block their path, but just then, members of Union Military, Mechanized Infantry Squad 4. After knowing that they are legitimate Kingdom soldiers, they got a powered suit unit behind them. After that, they capture the sniper, who turns out to be a photojournalist named Seawax. He tells Fralacia that he'll reveal everything if she agrees to release him from his restraints. In response, Fralacia shows him a photo of a young girl, and Seawax claims that the Oceanian forces were the ones responsible for what happened to her. However, Fralacia quickly corrects him, saying that it was actually he who killed her. The girl died from a bullet fired by his own weapon. She explains that because of his reckless actions, the Oceanian forces had been patiently waiting for the arrival of cameras, and once they were sure media attention was on them, they used the opportunity to massacre the villagers as part of their cruel strategy. He doesn't take the blame, but she gets really mad and says it's his bullet that starts it all and leads to the Oceanian extermination unit being defeated. Later, Quenther and Havia find out from Fralacia that Oceania is planning to use their object to destroy more villages. Then, they want to blame the Joint Task Force for it, so that people turn against them. After hearing this, Quenther and Havia go on their mission to find the 0.5th generation object, which is hiding somewhere. Suddenly, they hear an alarm and wonder if it means they have found the object's exact location. At the same time, the minister tells Fralacia that the enemy object is now in the Great Sandy Desert. But Quenther starts to think that it might just be a test reactor, which is an early step in making an object to see if it works. Still, Melinda and the others have already gone off toward the Sandy Desert. Quenther and Havia then find the photographer in the interrogation room. The man tells them that the location of the 0.5th generation object is actually between the Sandy Desert and the Tanami Desert. After that, Quenther and Havia head toward the real hiding spot of the 0.5th gen and tell the others that they're going the wrong way because the real one is in the Tanami Desert. At first, no one believes what they say, but Melinda trusts them and chooses to attack the prototype from a long distance. After that, Quenther and Havia reach the Tanami Desert, but it looks nothing like a desert. It's actually covered in a huge forest. Suddenly, the ground starts shaking like there's an earthquake, but it turns out it's the 0.5th generation object rising up from a fake water plant. Right after that, the object points its weapons at Quenther and Havia and fires a giant blast, but they manage to dodge it just in time. Havia thinks maybe the enemy has found out where they are, but Quenther says the object's aim is all over the place, which might be because it's still in training. It turns out the object hasn't been used for 2 years, so now it's just warming up. After that, Quenther tells the others that they've spotted the Oceanian military state's object in the Tanami Desert. Melinda quickly turns her object in that direction, ready to fight, but the Flied counselor steps in and says he can't give permission to send reinforcements to the Tanami Desert. But then, Melinda is stopped by a pretty officer from the intelligence unit who tells her to go check on the legitimate kingdom's object and even points a gun at her to make her listen. At the same time, Counselor Flied contacts Quenther and Havia and tells them there's no point in trying to fight anymore, since his business interests are directly related to the outcome of the operation. He also wants Quenther and Havia to die here, and he says their achievement have allowed terrorists to dream that they can defeat objects. After the call ends, Quenther and Havia decide to deal with the situation on their own, because they can't let Melinda and the others die for no reason. Soon after, the 0.5th generation object fires at them again, and Quenther tells Havia to shoot a rocket at it so they can create a blind spot and escape. Then, Quenther takes Havia closer to the enemy base, hoping to find something that can stop the object. When they go inside, they find dead bodies of soldiers, all covered in blood and rotten flesh, and they realize the soldiers were killed by electrocution. But then, Quenther explains that the object uses an electrical booster to raise the temperature of its power reactor, and that's also its weak point. He believes that if they can send another strong electric shock into the object, it might mess up the reactor and cause it to break down. While Havia connects a cord to the 0.5th generation object, Quenther sends an electric shock through it, but the object fires a blast into the base. Quenther gets badly hurt and tells Havia to run and save himself. But instead of running, Havia tries again to hook up the electric cord to the object, and this time it works just in time. Even though it's dangerous, Quenther and Havia succeed and manage to destroy the Oceanian object by making its reactor overload and go out of control. After that, Quenther, Havia, Fralacia, and Melinda head to Flyde's headquarters and arrest him for interfering with the mission. The next day, Quenther and Havia are riding on a warship when Fralacia gets a call from Havia's fiancé, Vanderbilt. She questions why Fralacia would send Havia on such a dangerous mission, saying that if anything happened to him, it would be a huge loss for her. Meanwhile, Havia is acting weird as he finds some dirty videos and starts messing around with his monster. But then he suddenly gets a call from his fiancée. Quenther, confused, asks who the girl is, and Havia explains that she's the young lady from the rich and powerful Vanderbilt family. Vanderbilt and Havia talk for a bit, but then Fralacia shows up and tells both Quenther and Havia to come with her. She says there's a new job waiting for them. This time, they're being sent on a reconnaissance mission to Antarctica. Fralacia explains that one of their aircraft was flying near the Antarctic coast when it suddenly got shot at by a surface-to-air missile. So there's a good chance the enemy doesn't even have an object, which makes Havia think the mission will be super easy since they can just have Melinda fire a few shots and be done with it. But Fralacia quickly tells them that they can't use their object in Antarctica because of the operation rules there. That means Quenther and Havia will have to go in themselves and fight the terrorists on their own. Both of them couldn't stand the cold of Antarctica, and Fralacia tells them all they need to do is investigate because their powerful object with Melinda is on standby. All of a sudden, someone starts shooting at them, and Havia quickly grabs his sniper rifle and spots a group of terrorists aiming at them. He asks Fralacia if they have permission to return the fire, but she doesn't give them the okay. So instead, they ask if Melinda's object can do anything to help. While waiting, Havia keeps the enemies busy by shooting back, giving Quenther the chance to toss a bomb at them, which ends up melting all the ice around the area. Afterward, Quenther and Havia go to search around the area to find Sam's, but they get shot by a bunch of spare railguns. After Melinda takes out the sentry guns guarding the outpost, Quenther and Havia find out that the terrorists are trying to hack a military satellite so they can use its laser to attack a remote resort on the moon. Since the resort belongs to a shared enemy of the Legitimacy Kingdom, Fralacia tells them to let the terrorists go through with the attack. But then, Havia finds out that his fiancée is actually at that resort, so he accidentally messes up the hacking process and ends up saving her. The next day, Fralacia teams up with some Marines who are in charge of taking care of the objects out at sea. The Marine captain asks her about the enemy they're chasing, and she explains that their target is the mass driver conglomerate. At the same time, Quenther asks Havia the same thing, and Havia tells him that the mass driver group has the best technology in the world. However, Quenther starts to wonder how the mass driver conglomerate are bad people in the first place. So Havia explains that they were mostly involved in business before, but lately they've been using their money to build advanced technologies. Melinda also adds that they're moving large groups of people to different places to stop the capital government from taking their stuff. She also mentions that the ship they're currently on is holding a big party to celebrate the group's 5th anniversary. Later, they get to the party where Fralacia gives them the best moment of their lives by showing off her pole dancing skills. Later, they deploy the baby Magnum with the objective to destroy the mass driver conglomerate. Meanwhile, Melinda gets invited to a mock battle against the Legitimacy Kingdom's newest object called the Bright Hopper. It's understood that she's supposed to purposely lose the fight, When Quenther and Havia arrive in Iguazu, they don't find any signs of an object there. At the command center, Furlacia gets a message from Howreed, a high-ranking noble who pilots the Bright Hopper. He asks Furlacia to let him defeat the enemy object himself. In reply, Furlacia tells Quenther and Havia to find and destroy the enemy object before the Bright Hopper shows up. From the way they talk, Havia thinks that Furlacia and Howreed must have some kind of personal relationship with each other. Later, Havia brings some cookies to Quenther and wonders just how powerful the Bright Hopper really is. Quenther explains that it's a second-generation unit designed for ground combat, and it's even stronger than 3 baby magnums combined. After that, Furlacia tells them that chaff missiles, which are used in weather warfare, were launched from the mountainous area near Piranha. Quenther realizes that the mass driver conglomerate's main facility must be somewhere around there. Meanwhile, the Bright Hopper manages to stop some more chaff missiles. But then, while it's on its way to the battlefield, it gets destroyed by the mass driver conglomerate's ultimate weapon railgun that can fire artillery shells at an incredible speed of Mach 25. Quenther realizes that the enemy is using the clouds and chaff missiles to create a layer that reflects signals, making it easier for them to lock onto their targets. He quickly tells Baby Magnum to escape right away. The mass driver conglomerate then tries to aim at Baby Magnum, but because Quenther warned her just in time, Melinda manages to barely avoid the attack. Still, Baby Magnum takes a lot of damage from the hit. After that, Quenther understands that the enemy is targeting the base zone next. Suddenly, they drop bombs right where Quenther was standing. When he opens his eyes, he sees Furlacia, who tells him that Havia is missing. But Quenther wonders how, even with all that power, the bomb didn't hit them directly and exploded in the air instead. Furlacia decides she wants to stop this operation, but she also feels like they've completely lost their chance to fight back against the enemy. Meanwhile, Havia and Melinda are in a safe spot, and he tells her to stay hidden until the enemy fires more chaff missiles. After that, Corporal Billeni from the Forward Reconnaissance Platoon tells them that the best chance they have to survive is by working together with Baby Magnum. Melinda asks if Furlacia will give permission for this, but Billeni says they're still trying to find out where Furlacia is. Meanwhile, the Bright Hopper's backup forces arrive and say they want to stop the mass driver conglomerate's object by blowing up a dam, which would flood the whole Iguazu area. They know this plan would kill tens of thousands of civilians, but they're ready to do it anyway. Havia heads off to try and stop the dam from being destroyed, while Quenther and Furlacia move out to find where the enemy object is hiding. However, Furlacia then shares with Quenther that she joined the military to escape being pushed into an arranged marriage, and that Howreed was one of the men who might have married her. Just then, they hear the break carrier getting closer, but they can't figure out exactly where it is. Havia is able to slow down the dam's demolition and picks up a broken bike. He tells Melinda to take Baby Magnum and go help Quenther. Then, Havia goes to the dam and sees many people already getting ready to blow it up. When he gets inside the base, he finds some guards being held captive. He frees them and warns that the military plans to destroy the dam. After that, Havia walks down the stairs inside the dam and calls Quenther. He asks if putting a small hole in the dam would make it collapse right away. But Quenther says that would take a long time. So instead, he suggests a different plan. He explains that the dam already has several checkpoints, and if they blow those up, it could cause a bigger explosion that would bring the whole building down faster. After that, Havia finds a bomb on the dam's wall. Quenther tells him that he should try to jam it. This means that when the bomb goes off, Billeni and her group need to move quickly to a safe place. But Havia sees that the bomb has wires connected to it, which makes jamming it hard. He shoots one of the wires, but Billeni sees him and shoots back. Havia fires at her too. More soldiers come with rocket launchers, but Havia kills them all. After that, Billeni tells Havia to give up, but he answers that the Baby Magnum is already on its way to Quenther. Billeni warns him to stop fighting, or they will have to kill him. But Havia says he is just trying to buy some time for his friends. At the same time, Quenther and Furlacia find themselves at a place with many different paths and wonder which way to go since they only have one chance to choose. Then, Quenther hears sounds coming from the mountains and realizes it's not just normal noise. It's the Baby Magnum getting closer and ready to attack. He thinks there are 3 possible routes, but only 2 of them are safe, so he suggests that they should split up to cover more ground. While Quenther and Furlacia go separate ways to look for the break carrier, Quenther spots it and quickly signals its location to Melinda. Using Baby Magnum's plasma cannon, Melinda fires a powerful shot that goes right through a mountain and destroys the brake carrier. After this victory, Howreed's unit pulls back from the dam, but Quenther starts to think that the MDC might have a second object they are hiding somewhere. However, Howreed then contacts Frolacia and tells her that he has been promoted to the top suitor. He tries to force her to leave the army so she can marry him. But Quenther takes action on his own and tricks Howreed into thinking that Frolacia has had a secret relationship with him. Shocked and disgusted that Frolacia would be with a commoner, Howreed gives up his plan to marry her. This leaves Frolacia feeling both embarrassed and relieved. After that, Quenther and Havia arrive at the harbor called Briganka, where they begin setting up the base zone. At the same time, a captain named Burning Alpha Staccato takes off in his fighter jet to fly around and keep watch. Meanwhile, the Marine captain starts to wonder if the survivors from the Mass Driver Foundation, after losing their object, went north through the blank zone and invaded Amazon City. Frolacia, who is also on the call with him, decides to deal with those survivors using the Baby Magnum. But since 3 of its main guns are damaged, it won't be able to fight at high speed. Frolacia decides to ask the Marine leader, Charlemagne, for help with the situation. At the same time, Havia talks to Quenther about Amazon City and says that the survivors from the Mass Driver Foundation are building a base there. Quenther gets shocked and asks if they're heading there right now. Just then, Melinda shows up and points out that the seat Havia is sitting on is actually the spare seat for the cockpit. Then she gives him an electric shock as punishment. Later on, Quenther bumps into Frolacia, who is blushing and trying to hide it. He's carrying a box, but he tries and falls, and everything inside the box spills out. It turns out the box is full of inappropriate magazines, making things even more awkward. Even so, she still thanks Quenther for saving her life earlier and helps him pick up the dirty comic that fell out of the box. After that, she starts talking to him about Slatter Honeysuckle, the person currently leading the Mass Driver Foundation. She also tells him that Slatter is one of the most famous and skilled object designers in the world. Their plan now is to attack the old site of Amazon City using Melinda's object, so they can take out Slatter once and for all. Later, Quenther and Havia head toward Amazon City after Frolacia gives them a clear order to take down Slatter, so the war can come to an end. After that, they arrive in the ruins of Amazon City and suddenly hear the sound of gunfire. Right away, they realize that Melinda must be close by, already engaging in the fight. But when they go further, Quenther realizes something strange. The MDC isn't trying to escape. Instead, they seem to be digging in and preparing to stay inside the city. Then, the capitalist enterprise contacts Frolacia with a warning that Slatter Honeysuckle is trying to get asylum from the Intelligence Union. They also say that the Intelligence Union is getting ready to invade Amazon City to save him. Realizing that the capitalist enterprise is planning to step in and stop Honeysuckle from escaping, Frolacia quickly orders her troops to speed up their search. She wants to find and deal with Honeysuckle before things get worse, since a 4-way battle could break out if they don't act fast. After that, the MDC reveals the main gun of their brake carrier, and Quenther quickly warns Baby Magnum that she is already within its firing range. Baby Magnum moves around the ruins of Amazon City, trying to find a clear spot to shoot from, but she can't find a good angle. When she finally does, a bunch of buildings suddenly collapse on top of her, and the whole area starts to fall apart. It turns out the MDC set a trap, and now Baby Magnum is stuck under the rubble. She asks Quenther to blow up the debris so she can move again. Right then, Burning Alpha contacts them and says he's carrying 500 kilos of bombs for airstrikes and is ready to help however he can. However, Quenther tells Burning Alpha that flying in that airspace is too dangerous because the MDC has lasers and guns set up everywhere, and he'll just get shot down. Instead, Burning Alpha drops some bombs on the rubble that's trapping Baby Magnum, which helps free her. Once she's out, she heads straight to attack the enemy's main gun. But Quenther starts to get a bad feeling and realizes that the railgun might actually be a trap to lure Baby Magnum in. He quickly warns Melinda, but it's already too late that she gets caught in another trap. Because of that, the self-destruct countdown on Baby Magnum begins and Melinda tries to cancel the command. Quenther tells her to eject right away and asks where she will land after she gets out. Suddenly, Quenther notices that someone has blocked Melinda's ejection hatch on purpose, so he quickly tells her to stop the countdown. But she isn't able to cancel it, so Quenther uses explosives to blow away the blockage. Just in time, Melinda manages to eject safely. After that, Quenther comes face to face with Slatter Honeysuckle, and the two end up in a one-on-one fight. During their conversation, Slatter tells him that their Rizolette's max firing range is 3,000 clicks, and if they really wanted to, they could have destroyed their object right from the beginning. Just like Quenther, Slatter also shares the same goal, finding a way to destroy powerful objects without having to use another object to do it. While listening, Quenther starts to understand that building massive and costly objects might not be the smartest idea, and using smaller railguns could be a much cheaper and smarter way to fight. As Slatter keeps talking, Quenther suddenly slices the bomb in half, trying to turn the tide. But right after that, Slatter kicks him hard and shoots him in the right shoulder. Even though he's hurt, Quenther manages to outsmart Honeysuckle by placing bombs on his own chest to make him back off. He presses the button on the detonator, and another bomb explodes nearby. With Havia's help, they manage to catch Slatter and bring him down. After that, both the Capitalist Enterprise and the Intelligence Union decide to cancel their attacks, now that the situation is under control. With the mission finally complete, Fralacia starts making plans to send the team to their next battlefield. Later that night, Quenther and Havia are hanging out alone in an empty room, quietly reading a pile of dirty comics. But before long, a group of female officers catch them looking at pictures of freaky women. Fralacia also shows up and finds a hidden stash of magazines tucked away in their room, making things even worse. After that, Quenther and Havia are sent back to Alaska with a new mission to search for the remains of an object known as the Water Strider. Once they arrive, the two of them start setting up a detonator inside the walls. Earlier, Fralacia had explained to them that their enemy this time is a second-generation object from the Intelligence Union. She also told them that the wreckage of the Water Strider is scattered all over Alaska, including parts related to its design and digital programs. Now, she wants Quenther and Havia to collect and get rid of all the wreckage. She warns them that people from the Intelligence Union are likely hiding nearby, trying to gather information. That's why she gives Quenther and Havia the job of destroying the remains of the Water Strider, so the Information Alliance won't be able to collect any useful data from it. Back in the present, Quenther and Havia block one of the main routes, forcing the Intelligence Union forces to stay trapped in their position. At the same time, Melinda locks onto the enemy unit using her Black Magnum's radar. But then she receives a call from Ohoho, who challenges her to a battle. Right after the call, Melinda is hit by a missile, but she quickly fights back, and the two objects begin firing at each other. While watching the battle, Quenther and Havia notice something important: the enemy object isn't firing all the time. If it had unlimited firepower, Melinda wouldn't be able to dodge any of the attacks. However, Ohoho starts circling around the battlefield, trying to outmaneuver Melinda, but she can't keep up with Melinda's fast movements and dodging speed. After a while, both of them land heavy hits on each other's machines, and in the end, both objects take serious damage, leaving them completely disabled. Quenther says that this situation feels like a pit stop, like in a race. Havia replies that the only thing that can break through an object's thick armor is the main gun of another object. After that, Fralacia contacts them and explains that the enemy object, Rush, didn't go after their maintenance base zone. She warns them that if the enemy finishes swapping out its main gun faster than Melinda does, things could turn bad for them really quickly. Afterward, Quenther decides to sabotage Ohoho's object, so he climbs up onto it and manages to break into the cockpit. He knows this is risky, but he wants to stop the enemy before they can get their object working again. After that, Quenther holds a knife to her neck and jokingly tells her to give back the melons, but then quickly reminds himself that he's in the middle of a serious mission. Suddenly, the bulkheads close behind him, trapping him inside the cockpit with her. While looking around, he spots a name written inside Juliet and wonders if that's her real name. She tells him that their conversation can be heard from the outside and that they're now surrounded. But Quenther doesn't seem worried. He says it doesn't matter because she's the only one who can control the object, and if she tries anything, he won't hesitate to kill her. However, Quenther tells her to stay still and not make any moves until Melinda gives the signal by saying checkmate. But she warns him that if she doesn't control the object, it will go out of control on its own. Just like she said, the object suddenly starts shaking and moving wildly, causing Quenther to lose his balance and fall to the floor inside the cockpit. After that, people ask her if she is controlling Gatling 003, but she says she doesn't plan to operate it herself and wants the AI named Juliet to take over instead. Quenther finds it strange because having an AI perform better than an elite pilot seems impossible with their current technology. However, she explains that the strategic AI Juliet can handle the basic controls, and she can fix any errors or bugs that come up. Then, her Gatling 003 starts acting wild again, and Quenther ends up smashing himself around inside the object once more. Quenther wonders how far Melinda has gotten with her repairs, and the girl tells him that Melinda now has only one main gun that she can still operate. Then, Ohoho calls Melinda and threatens her, saying that if Melinda raises a white flag and surrenders without fighting, she will take her life. Back in the battle, Ohoho is in better condition and seems to be gaining the upper hand against Melinda by constantly firing at her. Melinda struggles to defend herself using just the one main gun she has left. But Quenther thinks fast and sends a secret-coded message to Havia, telling him to set a trap that will cause the Russia's AI to get stuck in a deadlock. Quenther then tricks Ohoho into thinking that her superiors have turned on the Russia's self-destruct system. This frightens her so much that she decides to eject and escape, leaving the Rush behind where it can be captured. After that, a reporter from the Capitalist Enterprise military channel named Monica films a video, saying she's currently standing next to the legitimate kingdom's 37th Mechanized Maintenance Battalion. Meanwhile, Havia and the others watch her from a distance, thinking she's just some magazine model. Fralacia teases Havia for having a crush on girls like that. Havia then asks her if it's okay to let Monica film and broadcast everything, and Fralacia explains that they're only allowing her to record and show the base, nothing more. Meanwhile, Quenther, who is working on the object's body, wonders what kind of object the Faith organization will send this time. But Melinda tells him that their next mission will be a nighttime operation. He then asks her if she's not planning to take a break, but she says she actually feels more relaxed when she's inside the cockpit. Later, an old granny asks Quenther to grab a bunch of items for her, and when he heads out to do it, he suddenly runs into a girl who points a gun at him and demands to know his affiliation and rank. Coward Quenther quickly tells her every detail about him, but when she hears that he is a student, she just walks away. But then, she stops and tells him that her oversight duties apply to official military personnel. Later, Quenther asks Havia what an oversight unit is, and Havia explains that their job is to keep watch over the troops and make sure no one is breaking any rules or committing crimes. After that, Fralacia shows up to lead the pre-operation meeting. She tells everyone that their mission is to head to the eastern coastline of the Kamchatka Peninsula and take out a military coal mine located there. But she also warns them that the enemy has sent out a second-generation object, which is built with a huge gun barrel. Since they can't send Baby Magnum to fight it head-on, Fralacia says she found a special radar system that helps improve wing balancing, and they're going to use that to their advantage in the battle. After that, Quenther is given the job of leading a team to hack into the Faith organization's surveillance UAVs. This will help Havia's team sneak in and sabotage a radar facility, which should give Melinda an advantage against the wing balancer, the object that's guarding the coal mines. Joining Quenther's team is Charlotte Zoom, an oversight officer who seems to take a special interest in him. Unfortunately, just before they can begin hacking UAVs, one of the team members named Nutsley suddenly turns on them. He betrays the team by pulling out a gun and shooting both Quenther and Charlotte in the back, leaving them lying on the ground, badly hurt, and assumed to be dead. Quenther and Charlotte barely survive Nutsley's surprise attack, and it's all thanks to the heavy gear they were carrying on their backs, which helped block the bullets. Quenther tells her that before Nutsley ran off, he destroyed the PC that had the sabotage program on it, which means they can't upload it to the UAVs anymore, and without that, the whole mission can't move forward. To make things worse, Charlotte's gear starts sparking and stops working completely, so Quenther says that now they have no way to contact anyone for help. However, Charlotte grabs her gun and says they need to report Nutsley as a spy as soon as possible. She tells Quenther that she knows a path they can take where the UAVs won't be able to track them. At the same time, Havia's team tries to move forward with sabotaging the wing balancer, but they start to worry if they should retreat because they know they can't win in a direct fight against such an advanced object. Even so, Havia insists they're going to face whatever comes their way. Then one of his teammates tells him that the wing balancer might actually have bridge-building gear built into it, which could make things even harder. Havia starts thinking that if the wing balancer is chasing after Baby Magnum, which is positioned behind them, then it will have to cross the spot where they're currently standing. That means it will probably use its bridge-building equipment right there. So Havia comes up with an idea. He says they should sabotage the object while it's in the middle of setting up the bridge. If they strike at the right moment, they might be able to destroy the wing balancer before it can finish crossing. After that, Havia and his team quickly set up their equipment while the wing balancer gets into position to begin crossing. But things don't go as planned and their ambush fails. 2 members of Havia's team are seemingly killed during the attempt. After the attack, Havia runs over to check on the 3rd team member, Myongli, who is lying on the ground unconscious. When Myongli wakes up, he's clearly shaken and traumatized by what just happened and by the loss of their teammates. Meanwhile, Melinda calls Fralacia, who tells her to be aware of her surroundings, and if the wing balancer shows up, she should fire first. Afterwards, Melinda starts fighting wing balancer in a tough battle. At the same time, Quenther and Havia meet up again inside the mines. While looking around, they figure out that these aren't just regular coal mines, and that they're actually diamond mines owned by an anti-war group within the Faith Organization. They realize that the Faith Organization is trying to fool the Legitimacy Kingdom into destroying these mines, so they can wipe out the peaceful group hiding behind them. Just then, they're suddenly attacked by Nutsley, who shows up again, this time wearing a powered armor suit, ready to fight. After that, Nutsley grabs Quenther by the collar, lifting him up, while Havia quickly aims his gun at him. But Quenther shouts at Havia not to shoot. As Nutsley is about to strike, one of the anti-war civilians jumps in and manages to stop his attack, giving Quenther just enough time to break free. But Nutsley quickly turns and goes after them again. Quenther pushes the woman out of the way just in time, and both of them barely manage to avoid getting hurt. Then, Quenther tells Havia to slowly back away while he distracts Nutsley, who starts chasing after him. Meanwhile, Baby Magnum attacks Wing Balancer, but it shoots her back and Baby Magnum's main gun gets damaged. Meanwhile, Quenther and Charlotte keep running away from Nutsley's object, which isn't shooting them, because it's a model made for mining with no weapons. After that, Charlotte asks Quenther how far he plans to keep running, but Quenther says he'll go as far as he can so that Havia and the others won't get caught in the explosion when he sets off. As they run, Quenther tosses small bombs all over the path behind him. When Nutsley steps on one, it explodes, but it barely does anything to stop him. Realizing he's still fine, they keep running. Then, Nutsley lifts a huge rock and hurls it at them. At the last moment, Charlotte pushes Quenther out of the way and ends up hurting her leg. Quenther quickly grabs her and helps her into a nearby workspace used for sorting or after it's been mined. Soon after, Nutsley follows them inside and begins wrecking everything in sight. But Quenther prepares a much stronger bomb this time, using one of the world's hardest cores as the base. When it explodes, it finally kills Nutsley for good. After that, Quenther rushes back up to the surface to see the battle between Baby Magnum and the Wing Balancer. They both doesn't stop shooting each other at all and keep attacking like fighter jets. However, Quenther realizes that the Wing Balancer needs precise IR sensors to land correctly, so he uses an IR laser to mess up one of its sensors. Because of this, the Wing Balancer lands wrong, cripples itself, and is then completely destroyed by Baby Magnum. However, even though the battle is over, another object from the legitimate kingdom, called Indigo Plasma, suddenly shows up and starts destroying the mines to wipe out the anti-war civilians. Luckily, Fralacia had already warned the activists ahead of time, so they were able to get out of the mines safely. After seeing this, Quenther realizes something important, which is that Nutsley wasn't working for the Faith Organization at all. Instead, he was part of a dangerous and radical group within the legitimate kingdom itself. Now that Indigo Plasma has betrayed them like this, Quenther knows that a civil war inside the Legitimacy Kingdom is bound to happen soon. Later, Fralacia informs everyone that the second object, Indigo Plasma, is trying to cross the Atlantic Ocean to get back to Europe. Because of this, she believes they should quickly block off the Bering Sea to cut off its supply route. Soon, the legitimate kingdom begins a new operation on Victoria Island. They send out Baby Magnum along with 2 more objects, Snowquake and Active Sledge, to set up an ambush for Indigo Plasma. Their goal is to stop the object and take down the man controlling it, Prizewell City Slicker. Afterward, Havia thinks that the stunt Indigo Plasma pulled was completely insane, but they find out it was actually done by Prizewell City Slicker's unit. Just then, Fralacia shows up and explains that he's a madman who believes war and politics should be controlled and shaped based on what benefits him the most. She also tells them that, according to City Slicker, the reason the legitimate kingdom's progress has slowed down is because they don't have enough people to support its growth. Later, Quenther and Havia run into Melinda, who tell them that the old granny has been acting strangely lately. Hearing that, Quenther decides to go and talk to her himself. When he meets her, she ends up teaching him a bit more about how objects work. While they talk, Quenther spots a photo of a girl on her phone and curiously asks who she is. To his surprise, the granny replies that the girl in the picture is actually her, leaving Quenther shocked that this old granny was actually a goddess when she was young. Later, Quenther keeps going with his mission, but while the rest of the team moves quickly using bikes and buggies, he and Havia are stuck riding in a slow truck. After a bumpy ride, the two finally arrive in the middle of a frozen wasteland. As they look around the snowy area, they spot the object known as Snowquake standing nearby. Since Indigo Plasma also includes infantry in its tactics, just like how Quenther and Havia helped Baby Magnum before the military sends several ground units to assist in the mission. After Quenther and Havia help take down one of the enemy platoons, they make a shocking discovery. The enemy soldiers are spreading a strange gas across the battlefield. That gas is highly flammable and meant to explode when hit by Indigo Plasma's powerful plasma cannons. This puts both Baby Magnum and Snowquake in serious danger, giving the enemy a big advantage. To make things even worse, the legitimate Kingdom forces receive terrible news. Active Sledge has been ambushed and destroyed by 6 other objects that showed up out of nowhere. These new enemies quickly join forces with Indigo Plasma. The pilot of Indigo Plasma, who turns out to be none other than City Slicker himself, contacts the legitimate Kingdom and demands that they give up and surrender right away. With Baby Magnum, Snowquake, and Active Sledge all taken out of action, City Slicker starts speaking over the radio. He says the reason the legitimate Kingdom isn't advancing properly is because they use too many different languages at once, which slows down how fast they share important information. So now, he claims he wants to erase all these different languages himself to fix the problem. After saying this, he announces that he's going to the eastern part of Victoria Land to carry out a military exercise using 7 objects at once. Meanwhile, Quenther realizes that City Slicker and his team are planning to attack the immigrant settlement city where their own base is located. He quickly reports it, and Fralacia immediately orders everyone to evacuate. Shortly after, the attack begins, and as the explosions shake the ground, Fralacia says that the enemy gave them time to escape on purpose. It's like they want to put on a show, pretending they're not really enemies. Fralacia then tells everyone that their top priority is to repair Baby Magnum before the enemy attacks the immigrant settlement city. But just then, someone informs her that the lead mechanic, Granny, is missing. It turns out Granny has left her post as she got worried about her family living in the city. She abandons the battlefield and rushes off, hoping to save them before it's too late. Afterward, Quenther explains to Havia that City Slicker's supposed 7 objects is just a bluff. Logistically, it would be nearly impossible to operate that many real objects with the manpower, resources, and infrastructure required. He believes that most of them are decoys that are lightly armored, AI-controlled fakes meant to create the illusion of overwhelming power. However, before they can act on this information, the two captured by the very same group Quenther had hired earlier, the Battlefield Cleaning Service. It turns out that while they did accept the diamonds, they have their own agenda. Stranded on Victoria Island after a failed operation for the capitalist enterprise, the mercenaries are now playing on all sides to survive, and Quenther and Havia find themselves at their mercy. However, Quenther uses the stash of diamonds he secretly took from the Kamchatka mines to hire the Battlefield Cleaning Service. With the deal made, the mercenaries agree to help him stop City Slicker. After that, they contact Granny and convince her to return to her post to repair Baby Magnum, assuring her that they'll protect the immigrant city while she focuses on getting the object battle ready. Afterward, Quenther and Havia coordinate with Wydeen, who suggests that they should draw the object's attention directly to themselves to relieve pressure from the city. However, Quenther insists on shifting the combat zone away from the immigrant settlement to minimize collateral damage. Working alongside the Battlefield Cleaning Service, they launch a bold diversionary assault. Using a combination of explosives, terrain traps, and clever timing, Quenther successfully damages one of City Slicker's AI-controlled decoy objects, blasting off part of its armor in the process. The exposed inner structure confirms his earlier theory that the so-called objects are not full-strength war machines, but hastily constructed decoys operated by artificial intelligence. Quenther looks closely at the armor and, with help from Granny, finds out that the fake objects are made from a cheap ceramic material. He comes up with a plan to use this weakness. He sends out a drone and tricks the dummy objects by taking advantage of their poor AI. The fake objects get confused and end up firing at their own support convoy. That convoy is carrying plasma gas, and when it gets hit, it explodes. The huge heat from the blast causes a fast change in temperature, which is called thermal shock. This is too much for the ceramic armor to handle, so it breaks apart. Because of this, the fake objects end up getting destroyed. Melinda shows up and takes down Indigo Plasma, which also leads to City Slicker being killed. When Quenther gets back to base, he learns something surprising. BCS isn't even a real company under capitalist enterprise. It turns out the whole thing was fake. The BCS is actually just a cover for the Intelligence Union. They helped Quenther on purpose because they wanted to destroy the strategic AI tech that the legitimate kingdom had taken from them. Quenther and his team are sent to watch over a hostage exchange with the Intelligence Union, where they are giving Guru Klondike to them in return for important information. Because the Guru is such a big deal, both the capitalist enterprise and the faith organization send their own objects to keep an eye on things. But then something goes wrong. Baby Magnum gets hacked. Quenther and Havia go to check out where the hack is coming from. While they are looking into it, Charlotte gives them a warning. She tells them that Flyd is the one behind the whole thing. They manage to find where Flyd is hiding, but they're too late to stop him from starting the Mirror of Truth program. This program brainwashes Melinda, making her attack anything she sees as a threat without holding back. Flyd tells them that he did all of this not just to get back at Quenther, but also to push the four major powers into a full-on world war. Then he orders the brainwashed Melinda to fire on his own base, killing himself and destroying all the proof of the hacking. After that, Melinda goes after Ohoho's new object, Rush, and the two start a huge fight. Quenther watches as things get worse and tries to come up with a plan to stop her before it's too late. As Quenther and Havia try to stop Melinda, their vehicle gets hit by stray bullets, and Quenther is badly injured. The Intelligence Union finds them and takes care of their wounds. After he recovers, Quenther tells them about the Mirror of Truth program and its dangers. He also persuades Ohoho to join him in trying to save Melinda. But then Fralacia warns Quenther that her bosses have decided the Baby Magnum has turned against them. Because of this, they will let the Faith Organization and Capitalist Enterprise send their objects to attack and destroy Baby Magnum. Quenther needs to find a way to damage Baby Magnum enough to make Melinda eject without destroying it completely. To do this, he tricks Baby Magnum into moving into the path of one of its own spare cannons. This cannon fires a shell filled with CVD particles, which are designed to harm the system inside without causing total destruction. The plan is to weaken Baby Magnum just enough to force Melinda out safely, while keeping the machine mostly intact. The CVD particles clog up the barrels of Baby Magnum's cannons, causing them to explode. This forces Melinda to eject from the machine, which breaks the brainwashing controlling her. After she safely lands by parachute, Melinda tells Quenther and Havia to take a vacation together. But later, Honeysuckle warns Charlotte that the group targeting Quenther will now see him as an even bigger threat to their plans because of everything that happened. How long do you think it'll take for Quenther and Havia to finally get a break from blowing up billion-dollar war machines? Comment your thoughts below, and make sure to like and subscribe the channel for more.